Hi there, friends. How are you doing tonight? This is Barb Pass, going to paint on a 5x7. I went out and cut some fresh peonies. Let me spin you around, show you there. And I put them in a ball jar, as you see. If you have peonies, you know how they are. They're not here for very long. I painted lots and lots of flowers over the years, and I try to do them in an impressionistic style. You know, it's like everything. I wanted to learn to paint everything. I can't say I'm fabulous at flowers, but I like to paint them once in a while. And peonies, again, are complicated. Before I start those, I was just going to take a second. I got a few little pieces of loose canvas here. I'll stick it on the board. Anyway, I was going to talk about flowers a little bit. The way I try to paint them, again, is impressionistic. I try not to over-explain them. I always put a light on them, and so I get some variation in values. I think with flowers, this is my feeling, that they're more interesting if you don't explain them really well. I set up a few little daisies over there, and I'm not going to do them, but I was going to talk about them first. Like if I was doing these daisies, I first look at the whole shape of the whole mass. Okay? I don't start off painting petal, petal, petal. I look at the whole shape that I have over there, which is something like that. We're not going to spend much time with this. I was just going to show you how I might do them. And of course, you got to think about value. I'm just throwing some color together. This doesn't matter what it is. Daisies are white, of course. But you're going to want to, the same thing with those. You're going to want to look for your lightest lights, you know, and darkest darks. But I would mass them in as a whole one shape. This is how I would do them. You start that picking, 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 and doing every single petal. I just don't think they're as interesting. You know, let the viewer figure out. And actually, okay, that's kind of the outside negative shape of what I'm seeing of the daisies, okay? There's one over here kind of by itself. And then, of course, you're going to have stems and centers. And what I would do, of course, I look again for those lightest lights, the ones that, and I'm going to warm up some white. And what I would do is just look again for those light colors and explain the ones that are catching the most light. This is not a great way to do this. You know, I'm on a white piece of canvas, and pretty good sized brush. You know, and squint and look around for, again, for the ones that are catching the most light. There's a few there. And even one over in here. And then say you mix something up for the background. And again, this one is off by itself. You know, no thought went into setting these up. This is not what I'm painting. I just wanted to show you how I might handle this. You know, and then you got your dark background painted in. Again, that's the shape of your daisies, okay? And then you're probably at least going to have 3 values. You know, you're going to have some, this is kind of a mid-tone that we got on here, and And you're probably going to have some areas that are darker, and you're going to look for that. You're going to look for those values. And then, of course, you're going to throw your centers in, which help explain. That's a daisy there. Look for where those are. But this is, you know, how I paint them. I don't paint every petal. Okay, and the last thing I would probably do, again, look for those lightest lights. I usually get some palette knife in here, because I like, for flowers, I like the texture. But I've said this over and over, but if you explain a few of them, then your brain knows that it's looking at daisies. You don't have to explain them all. Now what I would do, you know, again, this one's pretty well explained, and then I look across and I see which other ones are catching that light. And again, this was not planned out. I didn't put any thought into. But I look across and see which other ones are catching light, and I hit those, like just some edges, little tips of some here, and again it's going across and it's hitting the edge of that one. And, you know, we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this. This is, and then the negative shape always helps. You know, you get in your negative shapes around stuff, and that helps explain them too, of course. But they just won't look pretty and natural if you get in here and you start picking out, you know, every petal. But that gives you some idea. Again, and you know, there's a lot to it, but I put the yellow center in, for example, and you would generally do something a little darker, you know, just below that center. Little subtle things like that. And then again, you're going to have stems and but that's kind of how I would do them. And again, you're kind of looking at two values here. I'd probably pre-mix 3 values. So I had a light, mid, and a dark. But again, my goal is for them to be impressionistic and not give a lot of information. So that's kind of how I would handle daisies. And again, the texture is fun. I don't know if you use a palette knife, but it's really nice on flowers. So let me grab those daisies out of our way. Bear with me here. Let's move those completely out of the way. Ooh, let me show you the 3. I told you I'm doing that workshop in October, and she asked for some acrylics to bring. These are what we're toning our canvas with. Look at these colors. That's the first one. Aren't those shockingly bright? But those are the colors we'll be toning our canvas with. Those are the colors she asked for. So be open-minded, right? I do, you know, a lot of pink, and I do like that, but all right, let's think about what we're doing tonight. Got a pencil. I'm going to sketch it on with a pencil. I have set a light up on it, so the big flower here on the left is catching most light. I've got 3 flowers and a bud. I try to usually work in odd numbers. I realize the bud makes a 4th, but it's very different, so I think it's okay. We'll see. All right, so let's look through our view catcher. Again, this is a 5 by 7. All right, let's see. I'd like not to dead center the jar. I'm just seeing how that works if I don't. I've got a leaf over here at the edge that I do like, so we may not get that in. So if we pull the jar off. All right. So look through this, and when you're setting it up, and say, okay, how high up does that jar come? And look, use this to help you figure out where on your canvas. So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking through there. Oops. The jar is fairly high. And if you're sketching or drawing and you don't see the back of something, it doesn't hurt to sketch it on there, you know, help you get your ellipse. Same with the water, whether you see it or not, it doesn't hurt to sketch it on. And as short as this is, I may run that off. I don't know. Let me think about that. I don't know. Yeah, I may run that off. But just be loose. Do this. This helps you get your top symmetrical. And I shoved some of the leaves down inside. I like that green color. Okay, we're just going to look at the big negative shape here. You know, they're just kind of big round balls, really. I did a workshop years ago with Nancy Frank. Look her up if you... does a lot of florals, really nice stuff. Oh, that was one of the things I was going to show you. Maybe I'll show you before we get started here. She did like roses in one of her demos. And one of the things she used is that like rubber palette knife that you have seen me use. Wait, I'll show you. This thing, the Catalyst by Princeton. You've seen me use this. It's like a rubber palette knife. Okay, and she... Let's get another piece of canvas up here and I'll show you how she used it. She did roses this way, and this might be a good way to do your peonies. I'm seeing already on this sketch, I'm going to adjust it, but anyway, let me show you what she would do. She took the rubber knife and I wasn't prepared to do this. We'll just grab some paint here. And she, okay, I'm looking at the big guy over there. She just started off her roses with this big rubber knife and got the shape in. We're not really thinking color here. I'm just thinking shape. But this is how, this is actually, I think that's when I bought this thing after watching her. But see, she kind of got the shape of it in, like that. You know, very quickly it felt, I thought, like a rose. So, I mean, you could do that with all three of these. You could block them in that way, you know, and then go in with darker values and lighter values. So, another thing to consider. Okay, again, I have took a moment here, you know, and looked at this, and I'm going to adjust this. I want to bring it down. The flowers are really important to me, and I want them down lower. So we're going to start with the thing that's most important to me, which are the flowers, and get them sketched on here first. Okay, now how far down? The jar is going to have to come down. Went outside and painted today. Gotten really hot here in Ohio, but I got out about 10 this morning, and it wasn't too bad. I was done by about lunchtime. Did some houses. Oh, I did the plein air competition. I didn't talk about that last weekend, and didn't win anything. I did two pieces. The first one was a house, and it had flowers in front, which was kind of what drew me to it. And then The second piece I loved. I did the back of a restaurant, like a pizzeria. It was one of those deals. I was just driving up the alley behind it, and it just caught my eye. So I painted from the parking lot, and I should have carried it in. It was just a lot of fun things going on. Had an awning, couple awnings, one over the door, window. I put in the printing of the name of the place. Anyway, there was a first, second, third place, and a judge's award. Afterwards, the judge did come up to me and say, "Are you Barbara Pask?" And I said, "I am." And she said, "I just wanted to tell you that I really liked your piece." It was called Mio's. I really liked it. She said, "I wish I could have had more awards to give out." So that was wonderful to hear. I mean, even if you don't win, it's so nice to get some positive feedback. So, okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start like I normally would. And I have mixed 3 values. Something with some blue in it that's cooler, and a very light pink, and something in between. So I'm starting like I always do with my darks. But flowers can be intimidating, and a lot of people don't like to do them. I try not to overthink them. I'm just trying to paint them like I do anything. Shapes and colors, values. But again, peonies, as you know, they aren't here long, so if you have an interest in them, you got to grab them while they're here. If you were a person that had to do them, you know, if you were into photorealism, I don't know, I think it'd drive you crazy. There's just so much going on with them. For me, I'm trying to get an impression of them. Some of this is obviously going to run off. So I'm just trying to, again, put in the darker values that I see. And then I'm going for something in between. This is my one that I have the light on, and the edge of this one. So I could have just very quickly, like I did, you know, I could have taken the rubber knife, you know, like I did with this, and blocked in the whole shape of it. You know, come back with darks and lights. I could have done that. This is actually, I believe this is Terra Rosa that I'm using, not crimson. Could have used crimson, just squirted out some of this to try it. They're very petally. Is that a word? And this is the lighter value. We'll see how that works. Like always, until we get everything on here, we won't know. And I probably will, you know, want to get my palette knife in here. I'm going to run that off the canvas. Don't want to stop it just short of there. Peonies must be sweet because they always tend to attract ants and stuff. I'm sure you've noticed that. Hopefully I didn't bring any in. I've done that before. Kind of got a ruffly edge on them almost. You know, my lights may not be light enough at this point. Probably won't know that till I get the canvas covered. And then the edge of this one is also catching light. Let's try our little rubber thing, you know? I use it for grasses and stuff a lot. What I do like about it is you can actually blend paint right on your canvas with a and we're catching a little light over here too. It's a fun thing to use, I'll say that, and it just feels good. We're going to want to run that one off too. You know, we can work on some of these edges after everything's covered too. So let's just leave that alone for now. We got some paint on them. Let's mix up a green and block in all these leaves that I see. Ultramarine and Indian yellow, which is a dark transparent green. I think we're going to go throw in some cad yellow medium. Still pretty dark. Maybe a little red to kill the green. But it's pretty dark. We'll see. I mean, I don't plan to leave it this dark. We got a stem coming down there. So I'm looking at, you know, really what's above the jar first. Like I said, there's a leaf over here. We might just put a little green over there. And I didn't tone tonight, as you see, but we could have. I did tone today. When I went out, I toned in that pink color again. I've been enjoying that a lot. When we were camping, lots of times in campgrounds, there's not a lot to paint, you know. I've camped a lot, and the scene is typically the same, but I didn't but I wanted to paint, so I had taken a picture of the people's dogs next door. They were two white and black cute dogs laying out there, and they said, yeah, photograph them. So anyway, I painted their dogs for something to paint, you know, and what am I going to do with it? So I walked next door and gave it to them, and they were very appreciative. And the night before we left, they left a bottle of wine for us on the table. I thought that was really sweet. So maybe they'll look me up. I gave them one of my business cards. But that isn't why I did it. I just love to paint, and I wanted to paint, so. I'm just looking around for different greens. I mentioned it before, but I do like phthalo blue for these ball jars. So I do put that out here for these jars. We're also going to try something different on the highlight that I seen done. Much darker over here, where it goes away from the light. But with glass, you're just trying to paint what you see. I mean, I do see people sometimes, they just outline everything in white, and it kind of feels like glass, but is that really what you're seeing? You know? And, you know, this is behind this glass. All these leaves and things that you're seeing, they are behind the glass, so. We'll clean up the shape of this when we come back in with the background. You know, and there's a lot of highlights on this jar. And actually where the water is, there's a light there too. I was telling you, I saw a guy, he put his highlight on and then he smudged it and then comes back and put it on again. It just doesn't feel dark enough over there. Let's put those stems back in that we see. I've kind of lost them. There's one there. And I can't really see them. We're not getting light enough. Wait a second. Let's mix up something for the background. And I do have a shadow, but it's really kind of lost there, so we won't worry about it. See what that looks like. I've mixed up a gray. Okay, now let's look at the shape of this jar a little bit better. You know, we may even need to bring it out further. We definitely will have to. Yeah, the outer edges of it kind of puffs out more, and I haven't. Whenever I start painting backgrounds in, that's when I wish I'd toned usually. It's just so much nicer to, it's easier to cover, you know, because you don't have to cover every bit of it if it's toned. subscribe if you haven't. I'm still trying to get up to 1,000, and we'll have a giveaway. I'm getting there. Slow going. All right, let's see what we want to do here. I pretty much ran that off. I think when you're learning to paint, I've said this before, but I think it is a good idea to try to paint what you see. You know, learn to paint what you see. You know, color, value, shapes, and see if you can do that, and then you can be more creative and change things to suit you. But for a while, I think it's a good idea just to paint what you see for a long time. And these are water mixable oils, and I have yet to, I just now for the first time touched into a little water so they move around a little bit better. You don't have to. All right. We'll get some nice soft edges on the sides of our jar and stuff. All right. Now, I feel I need some lighter values in the flowers, so I'm going to go with less pink and more white. The knife is loaded. I'm trying to, you know, look at the shapes I see up there. I'm not just throwing it on. It may look like that. Some of them lay over, and that feels a little dark to me, so we'll just get our knife in there. And we'll go over here to the lightest lights that we see. And we're getting some of it even up in here. I mentioned this before, one thing you can do to help you too with a shape like this is to turn the painting upside down, you know, and then you can see the outside of it better. I'm going to grab a smaller brush. Oops. Just jumping around from thing to thing. Like I said, they've kind of got a ruffly bottom on it. I don't want to get too picky. Put this bud in here, but I don't know if it makes any sense or if it even matters. If you understand it or not, I don't think it matters. Okay, now I'm thinking about reflected color. Okay, I'm not picking it up with that. Let me get the palette knife. Whew. I catch so much light from this ceiling light when I do this. So I'm just thinking, you know, do I see the pink down here? But no, but I might want it down there. Put some of it down there. Now, I haven't given much thought to the lettering, the word ball. I'm thinking about it now. I've got a little, let me grab it. You could use a stylus, or I've got this little pointy stick that's in my box with my paints, this little nasty pointy stick. Let's try to put it in there. I'm not sure I'll leave it, but let's try this. They say they're ball jars or they're mason jars, or Ball was my maiden name, and I grew up in Mason. Ta-da! Interesting fact, right? Not very. Okay, so let's, again, we may or may not leave it. I'm going to look for the lighter parts and put those in. We'll see. You know, there's no harm in trying this stuff. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Some of it looks gray with highlights, so might have to come back and do something like this. It's just so, everything is just so wet, you know. It doesn't want to stick. But I have carved it in there, and I could come back and do it. But it's just really a matter of, it's very subtle as I look at it. Let's see if maybe we can get some of the darks I see. The gray's not really having any effect on it. We're going to try this. We may or may not leave it. And then we'll take, try to put the highlights that we see. See if they'll adhere. It says not very effective, but I do think I can come back. I may leave it on there. I can come back and once it sets up a little bit, you know, get some brighter highlights on it. Because I just can't hardly get them to stick. But I think I'll leave it for now. I can always take it out if I don't want to. Yeah, like I said, it's a bit difficult to read it all. And look for your highlights. They usually tend to line up. Like boom, 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 right under that one. just thinking how the ball jar is made. You got those 3 ridges. All right. One last thing I'll do is I think I will pull it off of here. We'll turn it upside down. I can look at the shape of this jar a little better. Yeah, it's not too bad. You know, my edges are soft. Put a little highlight there, see how that reads when flipping back over. Pretty gooey. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything real bright over here, you know, just a leaf. I'm looking at this, seeing if everything, thinking this edge could be darker to divide it from that flower. Some flowers have definite, like roses have a kind of swirled center and they're usually darker. Things you can look for. Okay, I'm going to quit picking at it. I'm just going to go to looking at it now. It's been 54 minutes. I'll get up and show you what we've done. I appreciate you joining me. All right, let's get it over here. All right. Again, they're impressionistic. They're not, you know, photorealism. That wasn't what I was going for. And then there's your jar, and like I said, I'm going to have to work on the printing. It wouldn't really stick to it. And there's your, of course there's glare always. Let me shut it off. Let's see, we'll turn the light off for you. That helps, doesn't it? All right, there they are. Like I said, they're a big ball of a flower, and if you haven't tried them before, you should give it a go. They're a good challenge, but try not to overthink them. They can be very intimidating. And get your palette knife in there, because I think that texture helps, you know, make them feel like a flower. Okay, watch for me next time, and stay well. Have a wonderful evening.